on the net and within amongst historians and paleontologists and many other people studying the originals of humanity, there's a lot of speculation about how the growing or development of crop systems came about. What I want to put forward is it was a lot more simple in its beginning, Genesis, than what many imagine or are suggesting, especially the people suggesting that ancient aliens or aliens come down. Well, there should be ancient aliens, I do not know, but they come down and then sort of showed humans how to develop agriculture. Well, that's a very nice little fairy tale that they like to spread because of, well, it's entertaining anyway, and that's just a lot of entertainment in all that sort of stuff. But it's all the same thing. It's like the God and the Garden of Eden idea. It just connects to exactly the same sort of mythological sort of way humans prefer to examine things rather than examine things logically and rationally, because maybe the people involved in all this speculation don't actually understand the theory or evolution itself, how things evolve, and especially amongst the passing of information and data within the economies of the human beings, so that it benefits them economically and through the benefits them from a capital and material perspective, and in a spiritual perspective. If things are going well, you're developing a spiritual connection with the land because it's starting to give you the crops and the food you require to carry on through the generations. Then there's a spiritual connection into the land that provides that to you. Now, when it's how people came about to begin farming or harvesting food they grown, rather than just harvesting food that occurs seasonally naturally, is quite possible. When people defecate in an area, I mean, chances are people, reasonably, if you are organized from family tribal settlements for far longer than what is supposed. Everyone's supposed, I suppose, they identify people by the Aboriginals of Australia and other people like that who lived like nomadically around the land that was available to them within their tribal spheres of influences, which is what Aboriginals did. But not everyone has been nomadic for the last 4,000-6,000 years ago. Before 6,000 years ago, and the Sumerians and whatever, people weren't just nomadic then. People were settled for many occasions for the last 100,000 years, possibly. Because humans have had the cranium capacity of what we have now, whether they're called modern or not. The term modern itself is speculative. And what is a modern human anyway? If there are people in the earth now who don't question authority, can they be considered as modern at all? Or are they sort of being taken back to an earlier time, to a pro-modern, if you like, a pre-modern, if you like? But when it comes to growing the foods, it seems to me that that's a very simple thing that humans do. They have an instinct, an intuition, that it connects to a past experience, an experiential memory, that then joins the dots, and that you have this spark of intuition that says, bang, I've just had an idea, and maybe 2 or 3 people, coincidentally, will have a similar idea, because the mem passes amongst the minds, especially of the open-minded. That's a very important thing to understand. The mental process is also a sort of a radio waves of what passes ideas on to other people. There's no doubting about that, because the quantum physics we learn from that allows the possibility of that happening. And the more open-minded and connected people are together in a spiritual sense, the more likely they are to sort of catch each other's thoughts instinctively, and then be able to combine them to work together to create new fields of thinking. And this is what happened a long time ago with the first organized harvesting of food, which would have been happened all over the place at various times, depending on, but nonetheless, any place, any tribe that stays in a certain place for long enough because there's abundance of food or for some reason, or because it's a warm spot within the cold period of winter, but they found a warm enough spot to surviving through the summers, and they are eating the fruits of the land and the seeds of the land, and they're defecating in a protected area. Remember, there was these massive tigers and all these other animals and other people who were going around to go and eat them. Carnivores were amongst themselves as well, amongst the four-legged animals. There was plenty of carnivores around on two legs until recent years. So yeah, people probably organise themselves into palisades and places to be secure at night time, and also when they went to defecate, to the toilet. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they had to have a palisade for that as well, because you are very vulnerable when you go into the toilet. You walk out in the countryside to have a toilet. Well, it might mean you're never going to come back again because a saber-toothed tiger's got you, or another hominid has captured you for either for a woman, a wife, or just for consume some easy got meat and protein. So the consumption of the seeds harvested in the area, then they have you as you defecate. And then over the winter, the winter, you defecate through the autumns and that, and over the winter the snow comes on, it puts on down, and people hunker down for the winter and just survive through on the meats they've captured. Basically, on the meats they've captured, they may be learned to dry some of the fruits as well, because people are extremely inventive when it comes to put people in a struggle situation, life-threatening, which is in a natural state, life is always life-threatening. It's always a survival situation, and people have to invent the way constantly to survive, even if it's low technology. It doesn't mean they're not being extremely inventive. Even if their actions stay the same for such a long time, it doesn't mean they weren't extremely inventive to be able to hunt and survive and gather food at all times. It takes an awful lot of skill to do that, a lot more skill than just sitting around using a tweeting device all day, which takes very, very little skill at all. And there's no survival value in that whatsoever. For most people, it's actually the antithesis of being able to create survival skills from some perspectives. But this is what I suggest is why farming arose coincidentally at different periods all throughout the human realm, all over the world, is because people simply observed the seeds that they ate from the food that didn't get digested and didn't get broken down. They were just, the people defecated in a safety area, and next year they would have observed those crops repeating themselves. And it's a simple matter of joining the dots. We remember that we ate that crop, we've regrown it, we defecated in that area, so they've learned all about fertilizers as well at the same time. It doesn't take much to say, well, hang on a minute, let's have some of these seeds, we'll gather a few extra, don't eat them all, we'll put them in and see how it goes, and one might have done, an individual might have done it on his own, his or her own bat, and they could have said, okay, don't touch that bit there, I'm going to put some seeds in, we're going to sort of, add some fertilizer, look, lo and behold, next year, you've got a small crop, and it goes on and develops from that one small insight, one small experiment And that can happen, repeat itself all over the world because humans have got this coincidental intelligence. Otherwise, they're not human. That's what makes them human, a coincidental intelligence that allows them to join the dots. And then says they can invent themselves into a better situation, a better place for the potential of their survival. And that's all there is to it, really. It's not a great mystery that the aliens come down. And so you can also ask yourself, okay, you've grown a surplus of food. We've grown a surplus of food. Now, what do you do with it? Now, so what the first thing you can then suggest is that you have to store it somewhere. You have to store it away from the other animals. So you need to build, you can't, a wooden structure is not going to do the trick. And I'm suggesting the first serious stone structures ever built, even if people lived in them, the first serious stone structures were built to make sure the food supply, the food supply was preserved over the period, over the winter, or over the period that's I'm suggesting the first real attempt at architecture. So it was a permanent, a semi-permanent, whether it's in mud brick or whether it's in stone or whatever, it was done to preserve the food and make sure that, like a vault for food, if you like, rather than, because humans can sleep outdoors and sleep under a wooden shelter, but food needs protection. Your food, your annual harvest needs really good protection, and it needs guards on it. It needs someone to account for it. It needs guards on it. It needs someone to protect it. So you can see from that the knowledge of growing the fruits, the knowledge when to plant it, the knowledge when to harvest it, the knowledge to have some more seeds. All of that developed. Knowledge to guard the food, the knowledge to build places to protect the food, all happened in many places all over the world. In some places it didn't. But it happened on many places, coincidentally all over the world, and began some of the great civilizations and races we have today. Anyway, that's just an insight on how human beings, being as inventive as they are, aware, actually developed their own civilization, not aliens or gods or anything like that. They did it all on their own bat. They are the creative being. To deny that they're creative beings says we're denying the fact we're human. Because what makes human is the ability to question your surroundings. So to improve your ability to survive. Once you stop questioning your surroundings, and you start questioning your authority, the authority, which is the environment anyway, then you're diminishing your humanity. By not questioning, you're removing your humanity. And this is a danger of political correctness, or any orthodox view being the fixed view, and says that's it, that is the authority, you're not allowed to think past that realm. Past that, then you're removing people's individual humanity. To question authority, by doing so, you've got to ask yourself, what is the next step for those in authority over the humans who no longer question what that authority is towards the survival of much of the race, when it can no longer question what's happening to it. Because there's a very important fact that a great deal of a few social elite are saying they are now acting like gods, and they are the ones who are going to save the human race from a climate change. Now, over many hundreds of thousands of years, the climate has changed many times, and it will continue changes at a reasonably regular basis because of the way the sun cycles are with the Earth and all other things that's happened. And for suddenly now, a few have put themselves as gods and said they're the ones who are going to, and even politicians say they've got the power of gods to stop the climate change, and people are following those people, you've got to, got to ask yourself a question. Have human beings come very far at all in the last few thousand years? They're still thinking that there's some have got the power of gods over nature. It's a wonder. Unless humans can create their own survival structures within their own precincts or their own nations, and they get an authority over all of them, there's a great risk to their own the individual human for that the human to survive at all. That is the ability to question. Without the ability to question, you had your humanity removed.